So, everybody on Twitch and Facebook, YouTube, we've got Darren Waller. I'm really excited to be able to have a chance to kind of pick your brain, Darren. Jump into the podcast. I want to first do an introduction here of you. So I'm your host, Kyle Mauch, here with another episode of Success at Success. I'm sitting down with NFL Pro Bowl tight end Darren Waller. Drafted out of Georgia Tech, the star of HBO's Hard Knocks, Las Vegas Raiders record holder with 107 receptions last season, leading all tight ends in the NFL, fourth among all receptions. Hip-hop recording artist, podcast host, businessman, and quickly becoming a fan favorite in the league. His biggest success so far, though, maybe his comeback story. So, Darren, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kyle. I appreciate it.
So we're live. Like I said, never done this before on the live side. We tried Clubhouse. We'll try it again another time. There are listeners coming in on Facebook and like I said, Twitch. So we'll have a chance to kind of pull some questions from the audience there. So anybody that's listening, throw in your questions onto the Facebook stream or the Twitch stream. And we'll get a chance to get to those towards the end of this conversation. This will probably be about 45 minutes to an hour long. We're trying to try to cap it at 60 minutes each time. But I want to start with one of the fan submitted questions off of Instagram. And I've done these fan submitted questions before, like I was telling you beforehand, and it's usually 15 to 20 people will respond with like a question for somebody. And we're pushing hundreds of questions that came in. So I wanted to start with the first one, right? So Carla Segura, she wants to know what your favorite movie is. So if you could hit me with your top 5 favorite movies, let's start there.
Oh man, top 5 movies. I would say 300. I would say Friday Night Lights. I would say Shawshank Redemption.
Oh. I
would say Skyfall, any of the Daniel Craig, James Bond movies for some reason. And 5th, I'll go Law Abiding Citizen.
Okay. All right. So let's go with music inspirations, because you're how many songs have you released so far?
I think my first project had 12. My second one had 10. So 22. And then I had like one single in there. So I think I've released 23 songs.
Okay. So who are your top 5 music inspirations?
Top 5 music inspirations. One, I would say Fats Waller. My great grandfather was a legendary jazz musician. So I would say him. Second, I'll say Jay-Z. Third, I would say Ludacris. I listened to a lot of Ludacris growing up, being from Atlanta. Fourth, I would say Drake. And then 5th, I would say Gucci Mane, being from Atlanta.
Okay. Yes. So how about let's jump to the most common question that was asked. Like I said, we had a few hundred people submit questions. And there's one that was probably about 1 out of every 10 people asked. Are you single?
I am single.
Oh, coming with the heavy hitters right now, man. We're giving the people what they want.
They're getting personal.
That's right. So I want to kind of shift it to the next one. And this is another one that was super in line with a lot of the questions that were coming in. But I want to know what kind of 3 to 5 pivotal moments of your life have been.
So pivotal moments, I would say when I started recording music for real, like in a real studio, that was a big moment for me. I would say getting clean, getting sober was another one. Going to rehab and actually starting to do work to change was another one.
Okay.
I would say working at Sprouts was pivotal for me, being a grocery clerk at Sprouts. And then I would say, getting cut by the Ravens and being put on the practice squad, it was another pivotal moment. Those last two, just for humility and a new perspective. So just a lot of things that a lot of people would see as, like losses or, setbacks, but were really things that helped me change my mindset going forward.
Well, I kind of want to go back now with those and kind of, I guess, start to where where things kind of led into your story, right? What was your childhood like growing up?
I mean, on paper, my childhood was great. I had both parents in the house. I had an older sister. We lived in the suburbs. There was nothing rough about where I grew up. Um, Nice schools, things of that nature. But I just felt myself confused from like an identity perspective. The kids that I first made relationships with in my neighborhood, just playing outside, were white, but I didn't think anything of that. But I used to get made fun of a lot for hanging around white kids all the time and talking like I'm white or dressing like I'm white, or why do you do things like that? So I was kind of confused. It was like, everything should be good the way that it's set up and the way that my parents provided and treated us. They weren't rough on us. They were very supportive, and they challenged us to be good at everything. But I just found myself feeling like I wasn't good enough very early on. I was a super sensitive kid, cared a lot about what everybody thought. So, I saw that the things that made me different, I thought they were things that made that like something was wrong with me. Like it wasn't like a good thing that I was different. It was a bad thing. So I just was very desperate to fit in and started doing a lot of just crazy things that were outside of who I was, just to try to fit in, because all the cool kids were acting bad, talking to girls any type of way. And, they just had a certain like bravado about them. And I was just like the complete opposite. So I was like, I got to change all this to fit in, because what I am isn't good enough. So it was just a lot of that, a lot of overcompensating for losses or things that I was lacking that I thought I lacked. And so it was just constant anxiety, constant just like thoughts going 1,000 miles per hour. Like I just didn't have any confidence whatsoever. And it was just all about how could I impress other people. That was what my childhood was like.
Yeah. I had a buddy that way he kind of put it was that he went to a mostly all white high school and he didn't feel like he fit in with the white kids. But then his friends that went to mostly all black schools, he didn't feel like he fit in with them. And it was kind of the struggle of not being able to really figure out who you were, right? Who you fit in with, and feeling like you're being judged by two different groups of people, which it's a race issue, right? Is that something that you've kind of struggled with, or?
Yeah, I struggle with that. I mean, definitely growing up, but I mean, all the way through, like college, sports. I mean, even in the league, like I feel like I had something to prove for my skin color. Like I couldn't just be me. I had to do something extra. There had to be a little bit of something else that wasn't already there for them to look at me a certain type of way. Like I remember a teammate that I had in college was a black teammate, and I met him like we were like committed to Tech, like at like a spring practice. We were in high school, but then we reconnected when I got to school, and he saw that I was like doing drugs stuff at the time, and he was like, "Damn!" Like he was like, "I had no idea you was doing this because I thought you was lame as fuck in high school when I met you." And I'm just like, "Dang, like this." All right, that's just like another notch. I had to step it up just to prove that I was like tougher, things like that. Like it was just constant reminders from people that who I wasn't enough because I was, too white this way, or I wasn't black enough the other way. So it was, something until like a couple of years ago that I had to get over.
Right. Was football kind of a proving ground for you?
Yeah, just because all the things that I struggled with when I was younger, just being from Georgia, I was like, I know people will accept me if I'm good at football, like because football is like religion here, and I was always good at that. But growing up through the end of middle school and into high school, I was very small, and people started growing before I did and hitting the weight room and stuff. So I was super small and just didn't look the part, I guess, and was getting hurt a lot. So I didn't play. I was riding the bench if I was healthy, and so I got to that point, like freshman, sophomore year of high school, I was getting no burn, like no respect from football whatsoever. And it was like, that was like my last resource. So it was like, football's got to work for me. And so, yeah, it was a proving ground. And, once I was able to make the varsity team and start getting scholarship offers, stuff like that. It just like I had to prove it even more and more and more every level that I went up. So it was always something that I had to prove to people just so they could like, approve of me.
Mm-hmm. Well, how did you get into football? Was that something that you're just put into from your parents, or did you see it on TV and draw your interest? Like where was that excitement from it? Where did that stem from?
Yeah, it was just like, I guess seeing on TV first, like old NFL films when I was like 4 years old, like 3 or 4 years old, because my dad's from New York and he is like mainly like basketball. And my mom was, they watched football, but they weren't like into football like that. So it was just like me seeing it and was just like drawn to it, and started when I was like 4 years old and was just like instantly good at it, like instantly had a feel, instantly just, I knew what I was doing out there, but I hadn't even played before kind of thing. So I started that early on, and I did love it until, I turned it into like that proving ground, or like I had to impress people through it. Then it just became like a chore, honestly,
Right.
Ever since like the end of high school all the way until, the league when I got suspended.
That's interesting. So, because I kind of want to go forward and backwards in the sense of today. So 3 years ago, right? The way that you looked at football then versus the way that you look at football today. You're coming off of a crazy season, right? How do you, I guess, where was your mindset on football? What did it mean to you 3 years ago? And then follow that up with today. Is there a difference?
I hated football when I was like towards the end before I had got suspended for that year. But it was like I didn't have a clear like vision for it. I couldn't see it. Like I saw it as like I had to prove to people things instead of seeing it as I can just enjoy the game without having to prove anything to anyone. And I wasn't able to have that perspective until like I was away from it for a while, and then kind of got back into it with a new mindset. And there wasn't people around me like clapping for me. It was silence, or it was people like kind of joking like, what? Oh, he thinks he's going to be able to come back, or stuff like that. So it was like I had to step back and realize that, I did still have joy for the game, and just reconnect to that. And whatever people were talking about me or not talking about me, or, I could still enjoy the game no matter what. And, it was kind of put to the test because, while I was training before I went back, I got hurt. And then I had to, start back from square one with the training again. And then I got to the Ravens, reinstated, and I got cut. So I was in the practice squad for a while. So like my joy and love for the game was tested, fine. And then I feel like once, my joy and my work ethic was cemented, that was when that opportunity came for me. And I was able to really appreciate the little things of the game and just the process of it instead of just trying to get results out of it.
Right. I want to kind of go back, like talking about your comeback story and I guess what led up to it, right? When was the first time that you started using drugs?
I was 15, like sophomore year in high school. I had some friends like had pills in their parents' medicine cabinet, and they were like, if you want to try this, you'll feel good if you try it. And I was at the time, I wasn't feeling good, so I was like, I do want to feel good, so I tried it, and then it was like instant like hook. I wanted to do it. Yeah. And it went from once every now and then to every weekend to every like couple times a week to every other day. And then it was like, all right, yeah, I'm on it like every day. Like I needed to kind of function. And that all ramped up within like a year or two. So yeah, I started when I was 15, and that was the beginning of, a 10-year run of thinking that was my way to have peace and, just to connect with people or to feel good in life. Like it had to have been that. And that was what my thoughts were centered around for a decade.
Was there a point where you felt like you were addicted, or is it more so that this is just what was normal?
I knew I had to have it fairly early on. But, I guess society kind of paints this picture of what an addict looks like. It's like a bum, like underneath a bridge, like clothes ripped and just hasn't bathed in days. But an addict can be me. It can be someone that is a Georgia Tech graduate, is about to, be able to play in the National Football League and can speak proper and dresses, fairly clean. Like, I could be an addict too. I didn't know that at the time, so I always defended and rationalized my using. But, I knew I had to have it. Like, deep down, I was like, you can't fool yourself at the end of the day.
Right. What kind of drugs were you using? How far did you go with, I guess, exploring?
Yeah, I started with like oxycodone, hydros, and just kind of worked up to, heavy Percocets and Oxycontins, and smoked weed, drank a lot, Xanax, Adderall, cocaine. Just those were probably my lane.
Right. So when you got into college, I guess, how bad did it get? Were you affected by football, like on the football field in any way? Did it feel like it was taken away from you, or was it the same as when you were first getting into it in high school, I guess?
It was pretty bad once I got on the campus, like day one, my using. But at the time, I didn't feel like it was like holding me back from being a better player. But looking back, it really was. Physically, it wasn't like making me like a completely different player, but it was holding me back a little bit physically as far as stamina and just like maintaining strength and stuff like that, and injuries. But I feel like it just took me away from the mental aspect of the game and like the recovery aspect, because you got to take care of your body and you got to plug into the film study and all the mental application to, give you that extra edge. But, essentially by the way that I was using drugs and drinking, like I wasn't caring for myself. So the physical recovery aspect of it was just like completely not there. And then I was not spending any extra time watching film. I was just doing like the bare minimum. And so I definitely felt like it held me back from just a mental aspect. But yeah, my using was, through the roof ever since, because I got to campus and I felt like it was starting over for me. Like I was like that freshman in high school, because I was like the lowest rated recruit in the tech recruiting class coming in. So I was like, I thought I was just like, okay, I got an offer, I'm going to get school paid for. Like I wasn't thinking like I'm going to the league. So I was just going to enjoy myself while I was there. And I was going out damn near every day or doing something crazy every day.
So you got drafted. You didn't just make it, you didn't just get school. You got drafted by the Ravens. What do you remember from draft day? How were you feeling leading up to your name getting called and that moment when your name got called?
Every time I think about it, it's like, I can't imagine how people think like it must be like the most exciting day ever. Like everyone's like leading up to it, but I was like miserable just because I knew that I didn't want to play football anymore, and that just going up to the NFL was going to be increased pressure on me, increased amount of people that I felt like I had to impress. Like I had to impress the whole world now, and I was just not excited about what was in store because I knew I just wasn't mentally ready to handle it deep down. I knew that it was just a challenge that I wasn't willing to meet. My mind and my spirit weren't aligned to meet that challenge. And so I was just very anxious, and then, I was just like, teams were calling me to be like, oh, if you don't get drafted, we want to sign you undrafted. So that was just making me feel even more down. It was like, oh, now the teams don't even want to draft me. So I was just like, drinking and high at the time during the draft period, because I was just like, I don't even want to feel any of this. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was like, it wasn't that exciting time that it is for most other people. It was just like I could see my future and see my demise almost coming.
Right. What was your rock bottom?
I would say overdosing on pills in Baltimore. I was going to be, moving out of my apartment in Baltimore. This was August 2017. And I was like, I'm going to get high one last time while I'm here. And this was like 2 months into my suspension where I should have been and was telling people I was going to get my life together. Mm-hmm. And, I was pulling into the grocery store parking lot, going to go in and like get some beer probably, and just couldn't get out the car. I couldn't move and if I felt like I got out, I was going to cause a scene, like fall out or throw up. So I was just like, I'm going to just stay in the car. And then like it was daytime. I just passed out and woke up. It was like nighttime. And I was like, like cold, sweating, and just like not feeling right. And so I just thought like, for a while, I thought I had just took a nap. But then, when I got to rehab and, they were teaching us information, I was like, yeah, I really like had an overdose. Like I could have died right there. And so that was like my low point, just because it was that physical almost taking my life, and just the fact that I was selling people dreams, like talking about I was gonna get my life together and just lying and not, being impeccable with my word. So it was just like, that was just the lowest point.
When you look back at yourself in that situation, kind of picture yourself in the car, what comes to mind when you're looking at yourself in that way? Who you are today?
I just see like so much time wasted thinking that something external was going to give me like peace and, provide like, a sense of like me feeling good about life. Like I was relying on, chemicals to make me feel that way. And just feeling like betrayed by those chemicals, and realizing it's like, wow, like this is not the formula. You thought you were in control for so long, but really, it had you in control. It had you by the throat, like, so just realizing that, and realizing that, I wasn't harnessing any of the power within me that I thought was in there, and that people around me, knew was in there. It was just, it was a defeating moment for sure.
So what was that point where you decided to go to rehab? Was there somebody that helped you in that decision? Was it something that you had to come to your own terms with and make a decision because you knew that you wanted to help yourself? What was that process?
Yeah, it was a lot of elements that kind of went into it. The league was still getting my toxicology results, number one. So they were like, what are you doing? You're going to kill yourself, basically. And so they set me up with an addiction specialist, and he was like, yeah, you need to go to rehab for at least 30 days for, using, and not only that, but like, social anxiety and, just the things of, you don't feel like you fit in kind of issues. And then, so I heard that and it resonated, but I was still like kind of kicking and screaming. And I was like, man, like I'm not one of those. Right. And then my parents kind of broke down my family history after I told them that the league wanted me to go to rehab. And they were like, basically like, it's all over both sides of your family. And you know that now. So either you're going to see that and just continue to, just fall in line, or you're going to be someone that changes, generations, like breaks curses in the family. So it was just those things kind of like woke me up, and it was like, okay, like maybe I need to go to this place and, just kind of build a new foundation for my life. Because I mean, I don't have, there's nothing else there like for me right now. So I need to go after something.
It's interesting too, because I feel like there's a stigma of, if you don't like you were talking about earlier, as a drug user, look like the homeless guy under the bridge, right? And if you don't look like that, then you're a party drug user. And so there's the difference between the mental health of the homeless guy under the bridge, and it's not a mental health, it's a partier of the college kid. Right. And what would you say, just as far as advice that you would give, not just people dealing with it, but people that are friends and family, noticing their loved ones going through drug and alcohol abuse, and how to deal with it from the mental health side, not just from the recognition of it being an overusage of drug and alcohol as a party kind of fix.
Yeah. I feel like you got to get to the reason of why you're using it. Like you got to get to like the deepest why, because, it's like, okay, like you're doing it to have a good time. Well, why do you feel like you need that to have a good time? Oh, there's something, I don't feel like I'm outgoing enough. It's like you do it because there's something that you want to change about yourself. So you're subconsciously saying that you don't love yourself the way that you are. And so it's just like, so you can stop the using. Like, I mean, I know just from a recovery perspective and someone that's worked in 12 steps, it's like in order to have that real change, that real spiritual awakening, you have to, stopping using drugs and alcohol is like, and it's necessary, but it's not the end all, like, because you can stop doing that. But if your spirit and your mind ain't right, you're going to be addicted to something else. You're going to be addicted to gambling or shopping or anything. You can be addicted to anything, but you have to have that change where you go into yourself and realize that the drugs and the alcohol were just symptoms of your thinking, symptoms of what you were feeling. And you got to attack that head on and face it. So it's like from the stigma of it, it's like, okay, yeah, he has a problem with the using, but it's like, okay, the problem goes way deeper than just how much you're using.
How should people deal with that are around that person?
You just start from a position of understanding. I feel like a lot of people talk down at people when they are messing up in life, and it's just like, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do this. But you got to be able to understand and like show empathy where you can. Because if you've messed up in your life, share that with them, and find common ground and let them know that they're not alone in it. Because real change comes when they want change for themselves. But up until that point, you can care for them, you can love on them, show them that you still care about them regardless of what the outcome is in their life right now from their habits. Just show them that you're there for them, and then they can really accept the help that you want to offer when they're on board to help themselves.
Right. Do you have, when you're looking back at being in rehab, is there any kind of key takeaways that you have from it that were kind of pivotal pieces of information or things that you learned or routines that you implemented in your day-to-day life?
At the top, I would say definitely meditating and journaling. Meditating is something that I still keep up with to this day, daily. And it's just a difference maker, because we just have all these feelings and thoughts inside of us. And, the minute we think something or feel something, we want to just like react instantly. And instead of like processing things and, responding instead of reacting. So, meditation helps me with that. Helps me with how I, deal with other people. And it kind of humbles me. It lets me know that, I'm no better than anyone else. We're all trying our best here. Some of us, we're just doing the best of what we have, honestly. Right. So I would say meditation, journaling, just getting those thoughts in my head out and putting it on paper for me, because they're going to come out somewhere, somehow. And I want a positive fashion, one that, helps me continue to grow in everything that I'm a part of. And, I'm not hurting other people in the process. So I'll definitely say those two are keys.
Have you worked in any kind of breathing techniques?
Yeah, definitely. One of my favorites is like the in for 4 and then holding it for 4 and then exhaling for 4. Inhaling through your nose and blowing out slowly like you're, blowing through a straw. There's just so many of them, man. But yeah, I just try to look for new ones as I go along, even today. Just I haven't done it for 3 years. I still feel like I'm new to it because there's so much good information out there. But yeah, focusing on the breath is like such a difference maker. Yep. Because it sounds like a lot of people think you have to be perfect at it, but as long as if you're in touch with your breath, you're in touch with the present moment because you're literally being exactly where you are physically. So it's it's one of the best things that people could ever learn.
Right. It's like kind of where I guess meditation and breath come in, or kind of slowing things down and getting a little bit of control of the uncontrollable. Right. And there's a couple questions that people sent in on Instagram that kind of tie in with this that I wanted to ask. And one was, you're in Las Vegas, there's temptation everywhere, right?
Right.
How are you dealing with the temptations, first of all? And then do you have any tips for those that are out there dealing with their own temptations?
Yes. When it comes to temptation, I feel like me by myself, like I still have that old thinking in my head, but now that I have a relationship like with a higher power, that's where, I feel like my higher power gives me vision. And if I'm tapped into that vision daily, I know what things are on par with my vision and things that are compromising my vision. And so when I see like, okay, people are out partying, having a good time and drinking, it's like, okay, that I just kind of go through it all in my head. It's like, okay, a drink would feel good for a couple minutes. Like temporarily, I'll feel good about that drink, but long term, I'll be guilty. I'll feel ashamed of myself, and I'll realize that, I'm not continuing on that journey to who I want to be, and I'm gonna be slipping back. So I would just say to realize that whatever you got to find a higher power in your life, whatever, it doesn't have to be the God that everyone believes in. It's whatever you believe in. Because I know on my own, I know where I was taking my life and where I was headed, but when I allowed a higher power to come in and, care for me and guide me, I was able to build new habits and see the world in a whole different way. So I would just say, develop a spiritual life, whatever that looks like for you. Because it's the greatest advantage that you could have. I feel like that's my greatest advantage on the field. My greatest advantage in everything that I do is that I have spiritual guidance. I feel like I'm right within myself. So I feel like that's the way that you got to go about life.
It's a powerful place to be, man. Well, I guess another question too that somebody had asked is, do you ever feel fearful of relapsing? And if you do, or if maybe there's a different word that you could use to describe it, how do you channel that to overcome that feeling and that thought?
Yeah, I don't know if fearful would be the word that I would use, but I would say that I know daily when I wake up that I'm not immune to a relapse. Like I'll never be in a place where it's like it could never happen. Because I never know what storms are coming my way. I never know what situations may happen in my life that may hurt me, that may bring me to a place of uncertainty and fear and anxiety. And it may push me to go back to those old ways of dealing with things. So I can't say that I'm immune to it, but I don't wake up afraid at all.
Right.
Because I know that, I'm doing the reps daily. I'm doing the things that I need to do to, not only stay in the mindset I'm in, but to continue to grow that and to continue to, level up and help other people, achieve that awakening in their own way. So I don't wake up fearful, but I do recognize that, I'm never fully recovered.
Gotcha. Okay. So you're a busy guy, man. Are you using the podcast and music and football and now you're starting to do all these interviews and whatnot? Are you using some of this kind of as coping, or is this taking advantage of a platform that you've got now? How would you look at that? And how would you look at using the podcast and your music as self-expression?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like all these things I'm involved in, they have a way of, like if I'm speaking and I'm saying like principles that are in my life, it kind of reinforces them a little bit more. It drives it home for me a little more every time. And the fact that I get to, speak with other people or interact with other people, I can learn from them as well. I can learn from anyone, anywhere. So I always just try to keep that perspective and know that there's something for me to learn in every situation if my mind is open enough. And if I'm willing to, be taught or willing to allow someone's story or experiences to relate to or affect my experience. So I just try to keep that perspective because sometimes it can be like all the stuff that I got to do, it could be a burden, but I try to keep myself in a place where I see it all as a blessing and that all these people that I'm getting to interact with, we're impacting each other as well. And that's what the world is all about.
So you're using the podcast, right? Comeback Stories. You can go to comebackstories.com, check out Darren's podcast with Donnie Starkins. What prompted that? What was the thing that brought up getting a podcast started? What's yours and Donnie's relationship there? What's your goal with it?
Yeah, it was really Donnie's idea. I give Donnie credit because we have been working all through the season together, and we have, real honest conversations with each other. because he's my mental coach. So he's helping me process not only football things, but just life things. And those conversations are real and raw. And we were like, what if, we got successful men and women that people admire, whether they have a great status across the world or they're just well respected in their communities and their households. Like, what if we got them to talk about the adversity that they face and how they dealt with it and overcame it? And we just thought that there's a lot of mindless content in the world, and we want to kind of add to the mindful content, because you got to be picky about what you're listening to and what you let into your space. And we want to be one of those people that you can listen to this and your day could improve from listening to it.
Right. So what kind of stuff are you listening to or reading right now?
The book I'm reading currently is Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. I recommend everybody on planet Earth read that book, please. It's a tremendous book. Podcast. I got Jay Shetty's book from his podcast, but podcasts, I'm all over the place. I like Gary Vee. I listen to this podcast called Creative Conversations. I like the Bruce Lee podcast. I'm kind of all over the place. I like taking recommendations from people. So I'm very open-minded and diverse with the things that I listen to.
Awesome. So I want to talk about your music, man. This has been fun. I got a chance to work with you on your website and your merch and whatnot. And like I was telling you when we first started talking, it's exciting for me because I've never gotten to do something where I'm blending the two worlds of music and sports for a player, right? Why did you decide to start recording your own music? And what was this something that was a childhood dream, or did it develop over time? What prompted it?
I did not have a childhood dream of being a rapper or making music. I didn't. But so what sparked it was in college, at parties or anything we would be doing with the team, we would always freestyle at some point. And I wasn't very good at freestyle as far as like the longevity of my freestyle, but I could craft up like 2 lines in my head. And I was like, those, and people would be like, ooh, like the bar, like, I could give you 2 lines, but I couldn't keep going. And I was like, man, if I actually wrote this down, I feel like I could be good at it. Yeah. And then when I got to Baltimore, I was super bored there and just like very isolated. And I was like, man, screw it. I'm about to start rapping. And I started out rapping into GarageBand on my computer through the Apple earbuds microphone. And, started doing that. And then I got some like cheap equipment and started rapping in my closet. And, did that for a couple of years of like not letting people know that I was making music. And then I finally got the confidence to go to like a real studio, which was, there was a guy from my high school that is an artist and an engineer as well. And he had a studio at his house. And so I went there, and there were, guys that I hung out with in high school were there. And we're kind of like, you rapping? Like, just kind of looking like not another one of these guys. Yeah. And I was like kind of terrified, honestly, going there because it's just new territory. And, I went there and rapped, and it was better than people imagined, I guess. And it's kind of always been that case. I guess people, because they kind of have that athlete rappers, like, but, I wasn't an athlete for a while. I was out the league, and that was when I really honed in on music. And it was a place for me to really develop confidence. I feel like I credit music with my confidence developing. Wow. Because I would go in there and there'd be people in the room that I may not have met before, or people that, that were my friends and stuff. But I was like, I have this song, and it was like thoughts in my head, like they might laugh me out the building when they hear the song, like, but music gave me, I was just like, screw that, and just go in there and lay it down, and I'll just keep getting better. And so it's really just a thing that I enjoy. It's just a craft that, it just makes me feel good doing it. So that's why I do it. I don't, need people to see me as, I can rap now too, but it's just something that brings me joy. Yep. And music is meant to be shared. So I'm definitely into sharing it now.
That's good, man. No, go to dwallmusic.com, check out his stuff. He's on iTunes and Spotify, search DWall. Yeah. It's kind of cool because I first saw you on Hard Knocks, right? And I think just like everybody else, you're the favorite on the show. And I think it's because of your story and what you're kind of going through. But you also had this quiet, like, humbleness to you, and this bright smile, like this guy that looked kind of on top of the world in a sense, while you're also going through this struggle of solidifying a spot on the team,
Right.
right? And then to see your music videos, and from who, like, you kind of look at the guy on Hard Knocks versus the guy that you're seeing in the music videos, there's a very, very clear, like, difference in the way that you carry yourself.
Right.
And it's really cool to see, because the confidence that you carry in your music is amazing. So it's really cool to be able to see that somebody can do two different worlds in that sense. So props for you on that. That's dope.
Appreciate that.
But yeah, man, I kind of wanted to dig more into, well, let's just go there right now for a second. What are some things to look out for on the music side? Are you working on an album right now? Do you have new music coming out? What can we look forward to?
Yeah, music wise, I'm pretty much done recording the songs that I want for this album coming up. It's just like about getting the songs mixed now and sounding clear. Mm-hmm. But I'm eyeing like an April drop for my next project. I'm gearing up, ready to go. Got a lot of songs. I feel like my sound has been developing, every step of the way, and I feel like you'll be able to see the clear cut difference between, there's development from Better Call Wall to Wall Street, and I feel like you'll see even more development from Wall Street to my next project. So I'm excited about it. Excited to let people hear it and jam to it.
It's that athlete mentality you're proving. Love
Yep.
it. Was signing with Young Money, did that have anything to do with music, or what was the decision?
Nah, that's a funny story actually. So when I signed with the agency that I'm with, which is now Young Money Sports, mm-hmm. They were Players Rep at the time when I signed coming out of college.
That's right. Okay.
And I remember I was out the league, and then I think I got like some Young Money gear in the mail. I was like, "What is this?" And they were like, and my agent was like, "Oh yeah, we're Young Money now." And I was like, "All right, here we go." So it had nothing to do with music. It was just like they ended up merging with Young Money.
Dope. Okay. Well, shout out to James for connecting us.
Shout out to James. Yep.
That's right. No, this has been a fun conversation, man. I want to kind of ask a few more questions to just close this out, not take up too much of your time. But one of them is obviously the name of this podcast: Success is Success. Point behind that is I kind of look at it as, well, it's the shout out to Kobe, right? And the old Kobe system commercials, where you've got the peak of the triangle, which is what your goals are. And when you achieve that goal, that's your success. And when you get to beyond that kind of pinnacle of what's considered success, which is achieving your goal, what would that next level, I guess, look like for you in your own words? Is it maintaining success? Is it going and doing something different in music or whatever it is? If you were to look at it in that sense of going beyond what I guess your current pinnacle would be, what would that look like to you?
I would just say a commitment to, everything in my life that I'm doing has purpose and meaning to it. It's not necessarily about the results anymore. It's not about the outcomes, really. Like, of course, I want things to go well and, success to continue, but it's just, being more involved, like in the process of things, making sure that I love the small details of everything that I'm involved in. And because, I really don't have that much control over the results of my life, like in the success, like, because if I'm going out there on the field, if there's no quarterback there to throw it, there's no line to block for him, there is no on-field success for me. It takes other people doing that for me. And if that's not there, I'm not promised, like I have to rely on other people. Like, mm-hmm. I have the control to create those results by myself. And the same with, music and things like that. Like, I'm just not being in these things for the success and the status and the notoriety, but it's more so, staying grounded in the action, in the steps that I'm taking to just continue to elevate my mind and to continue to, help people in their journeys and get them to places that they want to go and not just keep it about myself.
Awesome. Do you want to have kids one day?
I do. There was a time where I didn't, because I didn't want to have a me, because I was like, always in trouble and, was just not, living how I should have been. So that kind of scared me, just like looking at my own life. But now I want to do that because I feel like, when I do have a kid, I'll have, a library of experiences to share with them, and I can help them grow and be on their journey with them and not talk down to them, but just kind of let them know, hey, I wouldn't do that because I did it and it failed miserably, things like that. So I feel like I have a better perspective towards it now.
Right. What would you hope that their definition of success is?
I hope their definition of success is doing what they love and loving how they do it. Because, like I said, the results aren't always, what are going to be there for us. We may only make $60,000 a year, but if they have purpose and meaning in their life, then that's success for them. They don't have to be a millionaire. They don't have to have money, status, or fame or possessions to be successful and feel successful. So I would just say doing what they love and loving how they do it, going about it with great principle.
So you might have already said this throughout this conversation, maybe not, but chance to reiterate if you have. What's something, like one thing, if you were to tell somebody that they should implement something into their day-to-day life and make it a priority to focus on that's been able to improve your own life already, what would you say that one implementable habit or piece of advice or thing that somebody can do is?
I would say meditation, because I remember the first place I noticed meditation working for me was behind a wheel. I used to be if somebody cut me off, I would instantly get around them, pull up and stare at and just me mug them and cuss them out. I had to let you know that how I feel. But it's just things like people cut me off and I would just be it's fine. I don't know what they're going through. They could be in a rush somewhere. They don't, what they have going on their journey is not something for me to take personal.
Right.
So it's just I'm in control of my reaction now. Even if somebody does something terrible to me, to try to hurt me, to try to, to make me feel bad, I don't have to react in a way that for revenge. I don't have to, react how people expect me to react. I can react with love and tolerance and everything that I do, with compassion. So I think meditation helps me with that, because it helps me sit with what's on my mind, and it helps me let it go as well. So I can, a narrative that I have in my mind, oh, I'm not good enough. If I sit with that long enough, it's my feelings aren't final. That's not what's taking place in my life. It's just a narrative I have in my head, and I can let that go and realize that I'm capable of so much more than I think I am. So it's just kind of letting those things in and not fighting those emotions, fighting those thoughts that are what you call negative, but sitting with them, seeing why you think those things and the experiences that led up to that. And once you kind of let those go, forgive yourself and move on from that, you can really see a real difference in your life, because it definitely translates to the field where it's high pressure moments, stuff like that. And it's just I don't have to take my mind there just because somebody else thinks it's high pressure. I can be calm and just I train for this. I work for this. I can rely on my skills and trust in them no matter what. And I can live with the results. So that's meditation just is a game changer for me.
Wow. Do you game day, when we're talking about meditation, on game day versus off day versus practice day, do you have the same routine, or are you doing different things to get mentally prepared in different ways?
It's the same routine, just as far as my lengthy meditations. I like doing 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes before I go to bed. But really, you could take meditation anywhere. You could do, I say a prayer and take 3 breaths before I step on the field for every series. If I break the huddle, take a deep breath as I'm breaking the huddle, just to just to, you can carry it anywhere you want with it. And it doesn't have to be just, it carries over and it helps when you do it for a lengthy amount of times, but it's just a way for you to connect into yourself in whatever moment you're in, instead of connecting to that anxiety or connecting to that pressure or that need to prove yourself. You can just be there and enjoy that moment. And when you're there, present and enjoying it, that's when you're at your best, no matter what you're doing.
So before I ask you to share some closing words of wisdom, I want to send everybody back to dwallmusic.com. Check out his merch, check out his store. He's been releasing a bunch of new T-shirts and hoodies and hats. He's working on some other designs too that I'm pretty pumped to unroll. But go check it out, dwallmusic.com. Subscribe on iTunes and Spotify. Once again, I don't know. Are you wearing a D-Wall hoodie right now? What is that?
I'm wearing the DW logo, man. Go get you one of those.
Dope. So go check it out. Anybody has any questions, shoot them in. Like I said, I'm going to try to convince Darren right here on the spot to do a clubhouse and join us again at some point.
Yeah.
But man, do you have any kind of closing words of wisdom, a favorite quote, piece of advice to give people, just whoever comes to mind right now? It doesn't have to be anybody in general from my end, but whoever you feel like you need to speak to.
Yeah, I have a favorite quote, but I'm not even going to go in that direction. I want to tell people to, create your own values. There's, a lot of times that we choose certain careers, choose certain, mindsets, certain, ways of living just because somebody else did it before us, like our parents did it, or somebody in society that we look to and think is successful did it. So we do it their way. But if we do it somebody else's way, we're robbing the world of who we are and robbing the world of our authenticity. So I would say create your own values. And then from there, once you create your own values and you're 10 toes down in them, that's what's going to drive you forward. And people and things that aren't with your values aren't going to derail you, because you realize, like I said before, it's like you're not willing to compromise that, because that's who you are and that's what you believe. And yeah, because I had no values growing up. I was just kind of grabbing on to whatever everybody else was grabbing on. And that's what kind of, I couldn't be anchored, in those waves when they were just kind of tossing me back and forth throughout life. So I would just say, create your own values, create your own system of values, and, let that guide you. Don't let somebody else's formula for success or formula for happiness guide you. Create it yourself.
So I know I said that was the last question, but you made me think of a question that now I'm curious about is how did you first, I guess, start to figure out what your values were? How did you structure that? Was there a process that you had for it? Because I know for some people it's easy to say, yeah, you need to figure out the things that you're passionate about or the things that are your true values. But without a starting ground for a lot of people, that could feel overwhelming when you start to think of it, right? What kind of, what worked for you?
So it started with me being able to see my role in the issues that were going on in my life, and realizing that I played so much more of a part in everything that was going wrong than I think I did. And so from that, and seeing I'm a pro football player, and people always clap and cheer for me. Like, one of the first things I had to realize, I was like, I need to be I am being humbled, and I need to practice humility in everything that I do. Just because that was what related to my experience. So when you realize what your part and your problems are, and you see your experience, those values will come to you, because you'll know inside of you, oh, I haven't really been living that. And so I would say humility was that for me. And then from that, once I was humble, I was like, okay, oh shoot, they may be going through that too. So it was showing compassion, having empathy. So just starting from there, realizing that everything isn't about myself, and the world is much bigger than me and my problems and what I feel. So I would just say that's where I started.
Awesome, man. Well, shoot, Darren, I appreciate you coming on, man, and taking the time.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Powerful story. You've got an amazing platform to be able to change a lot of lives. I know you already have. So thank you for stepping up and actually being able to take advantage of the opportunity. A lot of people don't. So thank you once again.
Thank you.
go check out dwallmusic.com. You can get more of the Success at Success podcast. Yes, there's the hoodie. On iTunes and Spotify as well. This will be on replay if you didn't catch the whole thing at success.com on video. And once again, iTunes, Spotify for audio. That'll wrap it up. Thanks, everybody.